Boom! What's going on, everyone out there? Hopefully, our 3 watchers ready to go here for Battle Royale Week 1 NFL Underdog. Woke up this morning, I was like, "Yo, we're gonna get ready, get the boys together, do some MLB, get it. Maybe we got $100 contest." And no, what do we wake up to? We wake up to a contest the size of the puppy for Week 1. Let's get after it. Let's win somebody 40K. Let's do it together. Let's bring in the badge bros. Who we dealing with here? Yo,
That was
Nez,
a
what's
beautiful
going
intro,
on?
brother. That was absolutely fantastic. Sorry if I was lagging a little bit there, but yeah, just fantastic intro here. There's so much on the docket. It feels insane to see this many tournaments available for us right now in the dailies, in the daily contests. It's nuts. I kind of forgot what it was like, but 40K up top for Week 1, man.
Let's
Oh
go.
boy, that's
This
crazy.
is what we were talking about all baseball season. It's like, man, you think this is the tip of the iceberg with puppies and with BBM? No chance. It's coming for the daily streets. Numi, what's good, man?
Hey, what's good? Yeah, this is the biggest contest daily for sure of all that I've seen. Last year, I think they were around like 10K, 15K people.
Yeah.
So they just blew it out of the water and tripled it this year. So, and then I'm pretty sure if I looked, yeah, they got a single game, they got a single entry, they have
Two single
Yeah.
entries.
Yeah, two.
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
two
they have
single entry. We got a
entries and
$25
then a double up. They have a double up too, or something like that.
Oh, so
Yeah.
there's $100 double up. Yep, and that's not single entry. I think that's like 5 entries.
Yeah, I think it's 3. It's 3 entry, the 103 entry,
Yep.
and it's literally like
double
a 50-50.
doink. Yep.
Yeah, it's a double up. It's like a 50-50.
That's
it's,
cool.
It's fun. Yeah, but I mean, like, just looking at Week 1 here, like, we're going to be able to get like whatever 1100-ish down between like this, that, max entering the 150 and then the 25 single entry. Like, these are some sick contests, and I'm stoked on this because we talked about it all baseball season. We're like, man, this is the way. Like, I don't want to wait all year for my payouts in the puppy, right? Like, I want to beat up on the boys over and over and over each week. Like, let's go, let's get after it. That being said, let's just dive right into this slate and see what we're liking here. I'm gonna do it by pulling up ADP right now because it's like a pretty nice like baseline for us to work off of. And yeah, so main slate, 13 games on the docket. And we got the big dog right up top right away. Who we liking? 101. Numi, who you like, man?
I think really you can kind of go back and forth really between anyone up top. I mean, if you want to go running back, JT's projecting on my end well. Derrick Henry, obviously the 101 there. You can even do, I mean, Justin Jefferson, if you want to go for your 101 either. I mean, I've done that before. So
yeah,
with 13 games, there's a lot of options. So, I mean, there's obviously the clear cut, the guys are going to project out well, but I think with 45K entries, it could be smart to get a little different, get a little unique.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that just like as an overarching 45K entries. Like, how are we trying to get different? How are we trying to, like, what's our mindset here? Are we trying to build super teams off the hop? Are we trying to find, a JT plus Henry? Or are we trying to grab someone outside of the 36-person player pool and build, like, completely different? What are you thinking there, Nez?
Yeah, so I definitely like to start off. I would say chalky. We were talking before we went live how you were like, I got this team I really like, and I'm like, I literally have that same team except it's a 1v1 with 2 different receivers,
right?
Which I did not think was going to be like a popular build that you and I went for, but we both kind of gravitated, since we've been already in the stack mindset in dailies for so long. You and I both kind of landed on like a nice value stack at the end. With 2 players that I took like with my last 2 picks, which I was really surprised with. So it's going to be interesting to see how these ADPs kind of fluctuate as we get closer to Sunday. I would love to know, I know we've talked about it before, some transparency on when these ADPs update and like, the frequency of it, because 45K entries on a 1 day slate, I think that there needs to be a little bit, a lot of updates is basically what I'm getting at. I think they need to do this at least every hour, maybe as they get closer to the deadline, a little bit quicker, but just some transparency I think would be helpful on this. But ultimately, though, I will be looking for guys that I have deemed undrafted in a lot of my drafts. After probably about 5 is when I'll start to get a little bit cuter. We have some Deontay Johnson injury news that we're waiting on, so that could potentially push up a Steelers receiver or maybe give Najee Harris more work, depending on how you want to look at it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go off the board, and I think you're going to have to go off the board here because 45K entrance, and you can. What makes it so fun is you can build a dream team, but if you want to win, you're going to have to kind of get outside of the dream teams, after a certain number of drafts.
That makes sense. Speaking to your point on the ADP, I pulled it this morning this was at 8 a.m. and I'm just kind of like juxtaposed with what's up here. And the top 10 is all still the exact same. So whether that's just volume of drafts or whether it's timing in which it updates, who knows? But it's just something to be mindful throughout this whole contest window, because we've talked about it at baseball a lot, where it's like this slate is a 24-hour draft window. This is a week-long draft window effectively, right? So we're going to be able to get leverage. Like you just brought up Deontay Johnson. Like right now, if he goes like no practice, limited practice, like he's going to be free right now. And then in theory, he can push up. Maybe he's not big enough to push into like, top 15 ADP or something like that, but he represents like some form of leverage right now if you want to take that swing. Yeah. So now from a construction standpoint, because these contests were much smaller last year, right? Like these contests were, Numi, you said like 10K, 11K entry or whatever. From a construction standpoint, like, are we always looking to stack? Are we looking to build one-offs? Are we bringing in that DFS knowledge of run backs and this and that? Like, what are you thinking there, Numi?
Yeah, you're definitely stacking, whether, you're the way that the roster shape up, you're most likely going to get a one-off of some sort, I would assume. Just trying to break it down. If I look at the team I just, but I like bring backs. I like, in my mind, I just think of scenarios that if this happens, then basically game scenarios. If this guy's going off, then what's the script that the other team has to do? And I kind of put that in my mindset when I draft. And I'm with the bigger entries. I'm more willing to take those. I'll leave the higher guys in ADP up there, and maybe maybe higher projected guys to basically get a guy that correlates well with a different guy. Like right now, for example, I did my last draft. I had Mark Andrews at tight end, and I had one pick left, and I went Elijah Moore as a correlation there.
Yes.
Is it great? Do I love it? It's not something you love to click with with I guess Zach Wilson. Maybe I think I heard.
Yeah, right. What the hell's going on here?
But no, with Joe Flacco there, it's not something you love to click. But again, I'm not in there. I'm not trying to predict what's going to happen. There's a scenario in which Elijah Moore gets 10 catches or even 5 catches or gets hits. You know what I mean? I don't have to give the certain scenario what he does. It's just that he gets hits and he's enough to get there. So.
No, absolutely.
Just certain things like that or players like that. And then, if you fully want to go with like you can also think about it like DFS. If you go with that lower owned stack, then you can kind of eat the higher per se ownership guys with the higher projection. It's just balancing those levers and trying to make sure that that's how I'm thinking about it as well. So
that brings up a very good point. That something that's not commonly talked about in the best ball streets, but should be and will be, especially as these contests get bigger, is like the product own and some ownership and stuff like this, where, in DFS, you're looking to win these GPPs and you're trying to build low owned stacks. And we have these projected ownership numbers. We don't have projected ownership numbers for this. We can just guess based on the fact that, hey, X amount of players have ADPs. Well, let's pluck someone who doesn't have an ADP currently out of the player pool, and that's our piece of leverage in a chalky build, or that's whatever. Because I think if you just try and build the best one-offs and you try and build them over and over again within the 36 player ADP range, you're not giving yourself many outs at the overall prize. And these contests are so top heavy. Like the disparity between first and second is like it's 40K to first and 15 to second. Like, I mean, you got to hit an outlier, right? In the same way that we talked about the way you win week 17. The way you win week 17 in the BBM is exactly how you're going to win week 1 in this battle royale. Do we agree there?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Silas brings up a good point in the comments. Getting unique at tight end, I think is going to be a really smart play. Just because with the nature of tight end, I mean, as long as somebody scores that wasn't drafted, I mean that gives you a pretty strong edge. I also think
so much inherent variance.
Some interesting RBs
position, right?
that are going undrafted too.
Okay,
let's
just start talking about
I wouldn't like I'm. Oh, God. Sorry, what did you say?
Let's just talk about them. Like, who are those RBs that you're liking that are going undrafted?
So just looking down at the bottom here, I think Antonio Gibson, he could get a little bit of steam just because everybody's aware that Brian Robinson got shot. So I know that there's a focus on him, but he is just point blank. He got capped, man. He's toward the bottom though, and I still think there's still people afraid to take him. His ADP wasn't necessarily skyrocketing after the Robinson news,
right?
Thank God that he's apparently in pretty good shape, that he has the chance to come back. So that's awesome. But Gibson, I think, is interesting with a potentially like really solid game script against Jacksonville. I don't think the Jags are going to be very good. Another one that I think is interesting, Damian Harris potentially getting, if he scored so many touchdowns last year, Ramondre Stevenson is getting so much hype right now. I think that we're kind of forgetting that Damian Harris can be the only guy that scores touchdowns for the Patriots if that's how things happen to break. I think that you kind of have to get gross a little bit, or at least like you got to be honest with yourself. Like,
right.
You're gonna have to get out there in week one.
No, I like that. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
And I think that's another thing just to point out, especially in week 1. This is definitely me piggybacking off multiple points I've heard from sharper people in the industries. We come into week 1 and so many people will, even myself, I have to stop myself from thinking what we know is going to happen. Like what we think we know, all this stuff. It's like we know absolutely nothing. So that's a great way to Silas's point of going leverage with tight end, going leverage with even like different positions. Like just because the projections have this, like in week 4, they can be flipped on its head because now we have more data on what's actually happening this season, what teams are doing. We have more information. Right now, we're going in with what we think is going to happen. The projections are here. So, I mean, you could take advantage by simply, you could tell me that I'm fading. I'm just drafting unique combos that aren't even off ADP. Like I have guys that are basically all outside top 15. I'm like, yeah, that with this many options, with that big of entry, with that many entries, that if you take the DFS approach, I think it's a easy way to get different. And you're not, as long as you're just not going down there and taking as your running backs, James Robinson and like Kareem Hunt, something like that, and then going
kind of like James, man.
I know. I'm saying if you do a James Robinson and Kareem Hunt or something like that, and then you continue to go off the board, like know your constraints. Again, know the levers you're pulling. When you go so weird, you can kind of thread the needle. If you're just getting all kind of mid-range-ish chalky guys, just you can put them all together. You know what I mean? Like
I don't necessarily throw $5 down a wishing well. Make it make sense.
I looked at week 15 last year, and it was only 13K entries, and it was only 79% full.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Look at the difference, eh?
So there is a giant difference in just the contest itself. Like how, you know what I mean? Like when people are preaching contest selection, that's the one thing I think we need to hammer down is how big this is and how many contests there's going to be in. And just like you guys said, when you started off and just went, that's basically the same thing, but now it's a 1v1. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's going to be with 30 other thousand people or 40 other thousand people. So
right. Yeah. So now instinctively, do you think building chalky builds and then contrarian one-offs, or do you think building contrarian onslaught stacks from games there that the field is not on is a better approach in these contests?
I mean, you can really shuffle those combos however you'd like, but regardless, I think that it's important to mix in some of those undrafted teams. And if you feel more comfortable taking a chalkier play with those players, then I don't fault you for that. One thing that I think is interesting that Nobo Sox brought up is, in DFS, we're okay with getting chalky at QB and running back and then getting different at the pass catchers. I think in this, because you're only drafting against 5 other people and only 6 QBs are taken, definitely get a little bit off the board depending on how things are falling for you at QB, because there's really like Herbert, Mahomes, Lamar, Hurts is being taken every time. And then after that, it's I'm sure I'm forgetting like an elite, but like those 4 or 5 are getting taken every single time in a lot.
Yeah, Herbert, Mahomes, Murray, Lamar, Aaron Rodgers is pushed up under a 20 ADP, Hurts, and then it's some kind of combination of Cousins, Burrows, Lance, Winston are kind of finding their way in.
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of guys down there that you can get that you can kind of mix up with, and then on top of that, getting a stack with them that also goes unknown. So I'm like totally okay with that. I would probably, if I am getting a little unique with the quarterback and the pass catcher, I will probably be doing that or targeting one of the chalkier running backs that gets taken every single time, but pairing them with something unique, I think feels better.
Yeah, what do you guys think about like with the positional restrictions? Like you can only take 2 running backs, right? So do you think like boxing other teams out of positions makes sense in any regard? Or do you think that's like maybe like a bully tight end and like having a tight end as a flex? Or is that like extreme? Because like you saw it in DFS where it's kind of like, how can we get unique? We'll take 2 elite tight ends and we'll play one in the flex and stuff like that. Do you think that applies here?
What do you think, Shane?
That's tough because it's like it really. I feel like it's slate dependent with this many options. It's hard to really pull off the bully. Like you can. I mean, there's 6. I mean, maybe in the single entry, because isn't that 12-person draft? So maybe that's different because there's more. You know what I mean? But with 6 drafts, I mean, if you type in the top 6 tight ends, Kelsey, Waller, Andrew. I mean, yeah, maybe, yeah, I guess, but I think what Silas said, it's the same thing. Like tight end is so hard to judge on a consistent basis that you don't want to go. Yeah, exactly. There it is.
Yeah.
And you stay away from chalk. So maybe, I don't know, that's tough I think in a smaller slate, it would be easier for me to pull it. Maybe I'm thinking about it way wrong because I mean, when you click on running back, there's, like you said, there's plenty of guys in the lower past 30 ADPs that I'm fine with potentially clicking.
Right.
You know?
I know. Yeah, I got you. Eric brings up a good point here, is that the difference in DFS is you're building a lineup that's much greater than 6 individual players. Like for you to put together an outlying score to win this contest of 45,000 people entries with only a 6-person team build, like you're going to need like a 50 ball from someone. You're going to need a couple 30s stacked together, blah, blah, blah. Like, what are we looking at the tight end position that could go off where that happens? Like, you're maybe looking at a Lamar Andrews stack where Andrews gets in the end zone twice, and then you're looking at like naked Kelsey who scores twice as well, and nobody else gets home in those games. Like, it is pretty far-fetched to drum up a narrative in which it makes sense to go quote-unquote bully tight end here. I think that's a pretty clean astute point from our man Eric there.
Yeah, I'm with him on that.
Yeah. No, so let's go back. Okay, we talked a little bit here. Interesting with quarterback is we noticed that the same 5 or whatever keep getting drafted over and over. We know quarterback scoring in a vacuum is pretty flat.
Right.
So just instantly getting different with a stack outside of the normal, like could be that separation you need of like 2 to 3 points that is a differentiator between first and 10th, right? So let's say the chalk gets home, right? And Austin Eckler plus Mike Williams both get home, and you need Chargers stack with Devontae Adams run back, right? Maybe it's not optimal to have Herbert in that stack when you have like a one-off Lance, like an upside rush guy or something of that magnitude, where you're kind of offsetting and getting different with a one-off at a flat scoring position with a running quarterback, something of this. Yeah, I don't know. Just throwing out thoughts, right?
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like you can still stack without the quarterback if you're on the game. Like I think a lot of people kind of forget that you if you have multiple of like it's still the same thing. You're just not getting that added correlation. And on smaller slates, it's definitely a little less of you depending on how far you take that. But like you said, doing the bring back and then throwing in one of these low end guys, I think makes a lot of sense. Lance, I will say, like I am terrified of. I don't have a lot of them in best ball, and I'm terrified of them this week because props are terrible. This looks like it's going to be just a very ugly game. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we see Justin Fields take that leap immediately. Lance has to keep up, and he's chucking. Like God, I hope this it could be. This is like everybody's like wet dream of a matchup here with these two quarterbacks. And then we're like, oh, the total is 41.
Right. Yeah. And they both just come out and they run it 50 times, combined, right? Like,
they want to run. They want to run the rock.
Yeah. I haven't looked at anything of like the pace of play models and stuff like that yet for that contest, but I know last year that basically Chicago didn't make a concerted effort to throw in any regard, but then they came out in the preseason and they're just like, let's throw it all over the damn place. Let Fields unlock. Like, so what are we going to get here? Are we going to get that new offense and that new Fields? Or is it going to be like, well, those games didn't matter. Now, all of a sudden, we're just going back to that Demont 25 touches train.
Mm-hmm. I do like the fact that Fields is buried, like below Tua, below Lawrence here. That's definitely someone that I'm gonna cycle in. Just because I'm just enamored with Fields as a prospect. I know last year sucked, but I think he can really be like the total package, and I'm really excited about him. So I might try to get in early before everybody else in week one with how low he is.
I got you. Yeah, it's interesting, like the ADPs, because in baseball there's a pretty steep drop off where like guys don't have an ADP, and it's like a full indication that they haven't been drafted. I assume. I don't know if that's fact or not, but when I'm looking at this, it's like, oh, this is interesting that Davis Mills has an ADP. Like, does that imply that he's been drafted at least once thus far? Whereas Daniel Jones does not have an ADP. Has he not been selected at all? Because like, if I'm starting to see this and I'm monitoring this throughout the week and I'm seeing like, okay, yeah, now the contest's at like 15,000 entries and nobody's taken Jacoby Brissett. Ooh, maybe, like whatever, insert player name X, who cares? But it'd just be interesting to see how much can we lean on this? How much can we trust this ADP? Is it just a number that's sitting there, right? Or like,
right? Yeah, it's really hard to tell. I'm not even sure if they know, some of the time.
Right? Yeah, no, because in their defense, it's so new, right? It's so new, like it just got implemented in the dailies. Yeah,
not picking on them, but like I'm really they're probably a little unsure sometimes as well. I will say there's a little bit of I wouldn't do Jameis as a one-off, and I agree I would not do an unstacked Jameis, but I do think that there's a little sneaky shootout potential between Saints and Falcons with a bunch of players on both sides, sans Pitts, that are not getting clicked. So just something I think to think about, just looking at these matchups and seeing, like you said, like going onslaught a little bit on these, maybe with like a one-off chalk is definitely going to be something that I do for better or worse. It could just, you could just lose to just like a no correlated nut team. And like, that's just the nature of these.
Right. No, 100%. Like when I'm looking at this right now, like I think my initial reaction is to look at the way the field deems points are going to be scored in ADP and then be like, well, what's the inverse of that getting home? You know what I mean? Like, so
Okay.
we're looking at, let's pick like a good one, for instance.
I think the Chargers are a good one, low key, because the pass catchers are a little suppressed, and
yeah, but they both. I was thinking more extreme than that because those guys still have ADPs. I'm looking more like Christian McCaffrey getting drafted in every single draft, and Christian McCaffrey getting up, and then DJ Moore being the path. Like I'm looking for talented players who like were drafting very high in season long best ball, but aren't really showing up here. Like DJ Moore's definitely going to get drafted, and he's definitely going to be a component, but is he a guy that I can get overweight to on the leverage of everybody else playing CMC? Or, you know, with Tennessee, right? Like Henry goes 1 every single time. Do I mix in some overweight Treylon Burks to be that's the leverage off the play that everyone already has, right?
I think that's just a typical DFS thought. You know what I mean? When you're sitting there and it's Alvin back in the day, it's Alvin Kamara sitting there at the chalk, or it's Dalvin Cook sitting there at the chalk, or it's Aaron Jones sitting there at the chalk. And all of a sudden you're like, well, if they're sitting there at chalk and you have Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, again, this is just theoretical, and they're almost single digit ownership. I mean, it's just, yeah, you got to understand, and then you start getting this different layers of galaxy braining. Like if I'm thinking that, or other people thinking that, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, that's just a great way to leverage. I agree with that. Like it's just if you see, like again, it's not saying to fade them. It's just putting in opportunities. Like you're picking your spots. So it's like if you're thinking that Derrick Henry, you want to take it like an underweight stance, get more like think the passing games. If they do hit and Derrick Henry fails, most likely it's the passing game unless they have special teams or defensive touchdowns. So yeah, it's a great way to get different off of any player in any situation. Is just to take another player from that team that's potentially being suppressed or low owned. Because then it's just a simpler, easier path to first. So
it's going to be a nasty puzzle for someone to solve to get us projected ownerships for these contests. And now that there's the ADP data and ADP keeps updating in theory, like as it gets better, it's going to be a puzzle for someone smarter than me to get that out there on a site and people start paying for that, right?
Yeah, I think you just got to assume most of these stuff, like just taking your own personal top 36 or like, you know, splitting it out, like taking the top 8 quarterbacks, top 8 tight ends, and then from there taking like your top maybe like 20 of each running back and wideout, and just assume that like these guys are going to be in 75% of these lineups, and then go from there. If you're, at least for me, that's what I like to do, because I feel like I have a very good cash brain and like median scoring, like chalk brain.
Right.
And then, you know, from there, once I do that, then I start to like, you know, try to do that before I start to think too unique, and then just assume that, okay, these are the guys that like are likely not to be picked. Cause I think a good 100 to 75% is a good way to look at like anybody that looks appetizing. Just assume they're getting picked.
This is an interesting point. Interesting point here, because under 10% just off 30, like that's pretty wild to think about, because you're basically replicating the exact same pattern of the same 36 players over and over again for, what is it, 11, 12,000 drafts, whatever it is, 8,000 drafts or something like that, right? 6, whatever, 40.
What's 45?
Yeah, like it's a whatever. Who cares? It's just we'll bro science it, but it's just like it's just like, oh wow, it might not be as galaxy brain as we think to get different, right? If this is factually correct, and Bosox is in the streets of these games and he's a good player, so he or she, we don't know, but this player, no, yeah, you know what I mean though, like. Yeah. All right. Let's go. Okay. I want to talk about two things quick.
Sure.
My instinct, we talked a little bit about stacks. My instinct is one. There we go. There's the answer everybody was dying for. Shocker that the person putting in mass volume of best ball is also male. Shocking development. When we're looking at these stacks, is it a fun way to get different by mixing in the running back with the stacks? You know what I mean? Like traditional, it's going to be like, yo, you're going to QB a couple pass catchers. You guys hear that? That's a 100-pound dog going underneath my desk. Oh my God.
Thinks they're a puppy.
Oh, literally. Like, God. But like my instinct is if I have a pass catching running back who, like Aaron Jones, for instance, I think we talked a little bit before. I think Aaron Jones is actually a really nice piece to stack with Aaron Rodgers this week. Do you think that's different?
I don't think many people are thinking about stacking Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers, at least from what I can tell. I would like that more if I hadn't seen Rodgers go in both my drafts so far.
Right.
But I do think it's an interesting way to get unique if you are going to take Rodgers. I don't think too many people are going Aaron Jones, but I could be mistaken. I'm actually not even sure who they're stacking him with. They could just be going straight game stack with Rodgers. I'm personally definitely afraid of week one Rodgers after last year, plus his pass catching situation. I'm not getting there, but I do think that Aaron Jones is probably the best stack right now with Aaron Rodgers. Or if you want to, or if you're a Dubs believer, take Dubs, but it's hard. That's hard for me to do in this.
Yeah, I hear you. Yo, Numi, who we liking this week? Like just in general, let's go everyone's favorite kind of like chalky player, chalky team, and then someone a little contrarian.
I like it.
Yeah, what do you guys think here? Whoever's ready, whoever wants to go first. I'll you want me to go first?
Yeah, if you got it locked and loaded, let's
first. Let me ask one question here. I want to point out if Silas point out the question here, and I'm curious if he means running
What's
back
the question?
with the. He pointed in the chat. If you want to put it up on the screen.
He's the only guy talking in the chat. He's got 100 questions here.
Yeah, it's he basically said contest size, stacking it based on contest size. So I'm wondering if that was in relation to the quarterback with the running back, or the running back, or if you just mean in general, because if he's touching on when you mentioned just one-offs, you know what I mean, I'm genuinely curious what he meant. Because I immediately I took it as you don't no stacking whatsoever, not even a, or is it just, did he just not mean with bring backs
with Rodgers? There you go. He's saying in general. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. No. For sure. And so would you still are you still going to try and get that pass catcher, to get that quarterback with the pass catcher, or would you in your drafts that you're going to do or have already done, just simply, if you haven't stacked, you don't really care, you're just simply shooting for TD upside? Because I wonder if that's the same thing that we think about in baseball, but it's just easier to get the stack, especially with the duality. Okay, and with this point to rushing quarterbacks, I would say if everyone's starting to think rushing quarterbacks are the skeleton key and the only way to score, or to get points, my second and fourth, small sample size, and then other wins I've seen last year, smaller contests, so it could be me not bringing that into consideration, was, I had Joe Burrow. He did have that great week with Jamar Chase, but I had Derek Carr. So I had no Joe Burrow can run, but I don't know if only going and prioritizing, I obviously get it. I would like to prioritize them as well, but I'm saying simply, if you can't get one of them, or then go down to Fields and below, you know what I mean? Skip the tier that can still, I think, you can put up 4 touchdowns and whatever yards and have that game that a rushing quarterback does. I agree with your that it's a better probability bet to get that rushing quarterback. But if everyone's in that mindset, maybe zigzag, and maybe everyone's not in that mindset. So I
think that mindset definitely existed in like building to win large field GPPs in 2016, 2017. I think that's where the mindset came from. It was like, if you're going to build a one-off quarterback, he can't be the pocket passer build. He has to be the Lamar one-off. He has to be the Kyler one-off.
Yeah. No, I'm not doing one-off. I agree. It would be a rushing one-off, but I meant
I just think that's where. Yeah, I just think that's where it originates. But I'll answer your question with my favorite stack to start right now. My favorite stack is free right now if you get Chase in the second. If you get Chase in the second and then you just build out Burrow Higgins at the end, everyone's scared of that Higgins little Q tag and the Burrow's little Q tag, and they're pretty suppressed right now. And I'm going to the well on that at the start of this draft window. That's where I'm leaning right now. I don't think Pittsburgh's a very good defense. I think their pass defense and their edge rushing and then their secondary is adequate. But I think they can dice that apart.
Yeah, dude, Pittsburgh sucks. That's all I know. Yeah.
Well, and then, you know how you also can get to that is Najee's free right now too. So if you want to run it back with Najee, or if you want to get completely different in that same game, fade it all all the stuff that's at the top of the draft, fade it all, and then just throw Mixon in the 5th round. I like that game environment from just, what I've done so far. I like that game environment, but I like that game environment more relative to the pieces that are being drafted right now and the price point at which they're being drafted right now.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I don't have much faith in the Pittsburgh defense. I'm not going to lie. I don't know how much they've improved. Like you said, secondary edge rushing is okay. Their run defense is absolutely atrocious. So if Joe Mixon is available as my flex, I like him as a flex option in this contest with half PPR. As compared to DraftKings, where I would maybe try to stay away a little bit, but he's down there.
He's way down. We're talking Josh Jacobs down here. He's down.
And I don't know that Pittsburgh necessarily fixed their run defense overnight, but if you were not familiar with how bad the Pittsburgh run defense was last year, you should definitely just do 5 minutes of a YouTube search of X runner versus the Steelers, and it was just open. Just they got whatever they wanted. Especially I was talking, I think pre go live. Dalvin Cook's game against the Steelers was just a clinic on the ground.
All right, yo, what other you guys got any other stacks you like right now? Any price points you like? Any players you like right now?
Yeah, I like taking Adams is chalky, but I like stacking him with Carr. I don't think too many people are going down to Carr just because of the stud QBs that are there, and he has a nice game environment. You can get Mike Williams if you would like to do a game stack. I'm kind of with Silas on this, where I don't think doing go balls to the wall correlation is necessary. But yeah, there's Derek Carr below Mitch Trubisky. So I like Carr and Adams. I think that is very, very easily attainable. And then as far as somebody off the board, some of these running backs that are low, like I said, I think Damian Harris can get you there this week. And then maybe you even do some sort of mix that in with maybe a Miami pass catcher, and that way you don't have to get Tua. You just assume Waddle or Tyreek can get
Waddle's
you there.
free right now too.
Yeah. And people have been poo-pooing on the Patriots, their defense, just the entire team all offseason. I do think that that's a little bit of noise. I think at the end of the day, they're going to annoy us with how good that the team will be. But if you're buying that they're dysfunctional, then Jalen Waddle should eat.
I like it. Yumi, what are you staring at?
Yeah, one thing that I saw just based off of seeing Jonathan Taylor up there was where Michael Pittman was.
Okay.
I think he's like 28. So I do like Michael Pittman as possibly just your point of going a different guy.
Leverage off the JT.
You know, when JT scores his 15 touchdowns week 1, and we're all just sitting here like, yeah, it's JT, and it's just fun leverage to go off of that. I think Matt Ryan is a great upgrade in Indianapolis to just simply throw the ball accurately and not just be Carson Wentz. So I like that a lot as just quick leverage, and then it's basically just the same thing you guys have been saying. So I'm in lockstep.
Mm-hmm. Here's Erickson, the Galaxy bring about pocket passers. And this kind of goes back to that conversation when we were talking about rushing quarterbacks versus pocket passers. The one thing I'll say to that, Eric, is the fact that when they're correlated and the wide receiver gets home, like it doesn't imply that every other pocket passer ahead of that person being drafted is going to get home as well. So they separate instantly with the fact that their pass catcher is scored, right? So I don't know, like I think in a vacuum he's correct. Like searching for low ranked quarterbacks may not be optimal. It probably is not optimal, but I also think it's a fine way to get different when everyone's building the same Devontae Adams lineup over and over again, right? That's all I
think also this is interesting because I think our bubble right now, I tend to deviate quite a bit from like our bubble based on like what people think and things like that. Maybe player takes, some construction here and there. I think we are wildly overrating rushing quarterbacks right now, like wildly. This like is a pass-first league, and there are some really underrated passers that have really good teams right now. And I think you're going to be surprised how much these pass-first QBs have caught up to the premier rushers. Like Trey Lance has to run his ass off to pay off for you. Like
he needs 12 carries.
He's legit a do not draft for me right now. Like I think that with the steam he's getting and what we've seen from him as a passer is not great. Like he needs to rush a lot, and they already have that's why they have Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, all these guys to do a lot of that running for him. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see Trey Lance like go off, but I think we've really got to temper expectations as a community with some of these guys.
Mm-hmm. No, I think when it turns into actual football, like we kind of get grounded again, right? Where it's like all off season long, we do all the projections and everything we want, and then all of a sudden, like guys start getting hit in the mouth again, and you're like, whoa, wait again. Maybe he's not ready for this. Maybe he did only ever play like 11 FCS games or whatever the shit it was.
Yeah, it's gonna be let's see. Silas says. Stay away from Damian Harris. I probably will. I think I may have one. But I'm not gonna lie. I'm so like anti the Patriots hate. Like I don't know, man. I just think at the end of the day they're the freaking Patriots.
All right, gentlemen, who do we like? You guys take the reins here.
There's one person that stared me in the face, but it's all good. I'll let you guys make the decision.
What? No.
It's Justin Jefferson.
Oh, yeah. All right.
I like Jefferson here. I think he's, there's a lot of nice wide receiver picks, but I think without Kupp in the slate, he has the ability to separate.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you guys. Like, we didn't really talk about the wide receiver position like explicitly. But if you just look at these top three names, like the JJ, Adams, and Chase, and then
was hard doing right there.
Look at this kind of, look at this kind of, if you just think about the tier break in like BBMs and stuff like that, like we're talking about elite first round, top 5, top 8 picks. And then all of a sudden we're talking about late third round picks, mid second on the way back. So mid-second, early third picks for like these kind of guys. And if we're just thinking about like, okay, that's how we valued them all off season. Well, week 1, we can dive as much as we want into matchups and whatnot, but like these are clearly the alphas of this slate. No?
Yeah, no, I do think it's important to kind of think less like when we're thinking micro, to kind of let our takes that we've put so much money where our mouth was to kind of like throw that out the window because of like a matchup or something like that.
Right.
Hermsmeyer, who does a lot of work. He was with ETR. I forget where he is now, but like he was very, he kind of coined that like defense matchups like don't matter for fantasy purposes, and like you really just need to by and large ignore it. So yeah, I'm with you. And as far as that thought process goes.
All right, where's mindset going next, gentlemen?
Ooh,
There goes Adams, just like that.
Well, definitely not Dalvin, just because like for what we're trying to do, that really doesn't make sense.
15.
I'll let you guys make the call.
I think I like Saquon a lot this week.
So do I. Big fan of Saquon. I like Kamara as well. Saquon, I'm really excited to see him come back. Tennessee, I'm not really like scared of as a matchup, and I think a lot of teams, especially like a team that has Daniel Jones at quarterback, if they can help it, they don't want to pass. So getting some of those attempts on the ground, hopefully it's more than just like 40 yards, but he's a premier playmaker. Anytime he's out on the field, this seems like a pretty good matchup for him.
I got one player in mind for this pick, and he's still there.
Who are you thinking?
I'm thinking I like this run back with the Minnesota game.
Yeah. Let's do that. I'm a big fan of what Aaron Jones could potentially do, especially if Lazard is out. I think that could potentially be a really, really big game for Aaron Jones. I wish I had more of him. It was hard for me to commit to the take that he's about to burst without Devontae Adams there, but I'm about average with the field on him.
We saw it a lot last year without Adams. Like Adams missed 2 or 3 games, something like that. I can't even remember. But he came out and he just had those like 8 and 9 catch games, and it was like, oh my God, he's just the safety valve that's always there. He's the slot receiver and he's the carries. And if he doesn't score the touchdowns, like, okay, yeah, maybe they bring in Dylan at the goal line, but like, how frequently are they going to get to that spot? Blah blah blah. Whatever. Who cares? Like, I don't know.
He's still got
maybe
red zone work. Like Aaron Jones was still used in the red zone, which is very exciting.
Newman, you're too quiet for me, dog. Let's hit me with what you like next.
I'm just trying to see.
Can you hit the draft board real quick? I just want to see how many QBs are left to be drafted. So it's us and this dude. And Tyler goes early.
We're gonna have our pick of the remaining QBs and 3 tight ends, I guess. That's another like just macro level point to make about these contests. When you know that there's those positional limitations and nobody's going to take 2 quarterbacks, nobody's going to take more than 2 running backs, and nobody's going to most likely take more than 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
Like you really have to be looking at the draft in this window to be like, okay, yeah, because it'd be a huge mistake for us to go quarterback now, even if we loved the quarterback that was there.
Yeah. Like we should have a different pick, of course. A lot of really good wideouts still on the board. I think AJ Brown could be interesting, or Alvin Kamara. I think those two are my favorites as far as like what this slate and what you have to do for it. I know that they're chalky, but I like them both. So
we couldn't go running back anyways.
Oh,
so
that's right. Sorry,
I just put Brown in there because this sets up nicely for. Oh wow, inverted. What a sharp dude. He goes Goddard with the swift run back. I like that play right there.
Yeah.
I was about to say this sets up nicely for us to take Hurts right here. And then go with the run back, or not with the run back, go with the tight end.
Yeah, I think Hurts.
But Goddard's gone.
Yeah, no, I love Hurts here. He's I actually I'm a little bearish on him for the full season, but I mean we're making the bet that AJ Brown smashes, and then Jalen Hurts, he has the rushing floor on top of it. That if there's any time to take him in this contest, it's with the AJ Brown smash. And I mean, just while we're thinking about it, while I'm talking out loud here, I mean, obviously Dallas Goedert's going to get drafted a lot. I like taking him. And then, Devontae Smith is probably going to go way, overlooked. So if you want to get unique there with DeAndre Swift, I would encourage people to do that. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a fun way to get different for sure. And then this, I think we were set up nicely for tight end here, in my opinion, because I've been noticing this all day that if you can get that Jalen and Goddard like pretty easily, but when Inverted does something like he did and gets that mini correlation and run back right here of that game stack, it sets up fine for us because the backup, like the default backup to that is we get Kittle, right?
I'd say Kittle or Hawkinson.
Yeah,
but like if you like,
Hawkinson as run back there.
Yeah, like I know
in the same capacity.
I don't think we need to go too crazy with correlation, but I do think that there's not a big difference between those two. I'm like I said, I'm really worried about that game environment in San Francisco, and I think Kittle's going to be super popular.
Good point. Yeah, Numi, you like that?
Yeah, I like that a lot. That was my first. Eric literally pointed out you could do Hawk as your bring back or as your run back, and that was going to be my take, is to do TJ. I think it fits Silas's point below as well. It's a little bit off the beaten path. I don't know how many teams are going to be clicking TJ Hawkinson. Maybe if they're doing the bring backs. I mean, that easily could be happening. But yeah, I also like his points of going Njoku and Mo Alley as leverage off JD, and yeah. So it's just
that's something you saw in the chat. I wasn't paying attention to.
Yep, Silas pointed out that that's just fun leverage to go off of, so.
Right. Yeah. No, I think more or less like everyone's kind of harping on the same mindset here, where it's like, how do we get different off the chalk? How do we build out talented pieces that aren't getting drafted right now? How do we correlate in a different way that everyone else is correlating with our, stacks, right? Like we were talking about the Derek Carr one, like right or wrong, but there's one overarching thing that I'll just say about this whole contest is if I'm building one lineup, I'm building very different than if I'm building 150.
Yeah.
I intend to build hopefully 150. I intend to build at least 50, 70, 80 in that range, depending on time constraints. I think taking shots in different ways in those constructions makes a lot of sense, to be mixing in these sort of things. If we're trying to build one quote unquote super team optimal roster, does it make sense to be targeting TJ Hawkinson? No, of course not. But if you are someone who's only going to throw like 3, 4, 5 bullets into this thing, I think you have to steer clear of chalky builds. No?
It's hard to. It's hard to, because if you're that type of person, you're probably risk averse, which that's fine. But if you are doing 5 bullets, I would make them 5 very, very unique bullets.
Right. Yeah. I think you have to embrace the mindset that we're not looking to min cash these teams. We're not looking to do that. We're looking to fire bullets for the top prize, and in doing so, like, we don't really care about the ROI on the $25 we're spending here right now, because we're just looking to hit the outlying ROI of 40K, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you really, really got to think through what we're doing here with how unique this is with drafts and everybody else. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's way different than, obviously, the salary DFS stuff. That's what makes this so addicting.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you have inherent optimism every time you start a draft that this is the one that I get Henry and Taylor. Everyone else shits the bed. I'm getting Henry and Taylor.
Exactly. Chasing the dragon.
That freaking dopamine. Like, I love it. Yeah. All right, next one. Oh,
dude, I love it, dude.
It's literally, I'm just sitting there. It's like, oh, I can. Next thing you know, I mean, and these ones go so much quicker than your normal draft. So it's just like, oh, sorry, we're on the clock, but yeah. So it's just
no, we're good. No, yeah.
We're next thing you know, you're like, I'm 25 deep. The what?
I haven't got a Henry share yet. I kind of want to try and build with Henry and see what we kind of figure out and land on. So let's start with that. Otherwise, I think I would be leaning Jefferson again, and I don't really want to build the same team twice on the stream kind of deal. Yeah. So let's go with Henry and see what we end up at.
I can sell you on a Kirk Jefferson.
Who's I feel silly for being on a football stream and not knowing the lockdown corner for Green Bay. Any concerns?
Jair.
Yeah, any concerns at all with him?
Alexander.
I don't try and really think about matchup. Like I really don't.
That's good.
I think with this offense, we don't know anything that's going to happen. They haven't shown us anything. So I think they pointed out stats. I mean, they're not lining up in the same spots over and over again, and that's been like, you know what I mean. They're not just going to the same size. So exactly, and then exactly what he's in a way more elegant way. They're going to use JJ in creative ways to get him away from Jair. They're going to get him in space. They're going to get JJ's touches. So, this isn't the archaic Mike Zimmer offense that y'all will be used to seeing. This is hopefully going to be fun to be a Vikings fan.
I think that's a really good point. About how the offense is completely different.
So
what are you guys thinking here? What do you like, Numi? Make a pick for me.
There's an obvious choice, but I think we deviate from that. And I think maybe we do. I think maybe do Justin Herbert.
6 seconds. All right, Herbs. Let's do it.
I think we can do something with Herbert.
And then try and get one of these two on the way back here.
I think Nez's boy, Hunter Renfrow is an interesting choice. I mean, you don't need, again, half point PPR. I get it, but like, it's just, I'm trying to think of interesting ways. So like, we're not going to that now. I think Keenan or Mike Williams, honestly, what would be I like to think of it. What's the more common click? And I think more people will elevate towards Keenan. So that's my thought.
Okay.
I would say Williams for this.
Yeah, I like Williams. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. I think more people would gravitate Keenan, so I would go Williams.
Yeah, I think the thing about Mike Will is like he kind of has that break the slate upside where that 40-yard bomb down the sideline, like that thing's not going to Keenan. Can Keenan give you 10, 120 and two scores? Absolutely, he can.
Yeah, I love Keenan.
Does Mike Williams have that slate break? Yeah.
And I think in hindsight, or if we're doing this, and since I did mention Renfrow, if that's a way you wanted to do, like going for Mike instead of Keenan to get those two similar guys, you're getting that upside guy basically, and you're getting Renfrow. So, but if we do that, we don't have to be locked into Renfrow. I just want to make that sure. And that is absolutely nasty. I love that.
Yeah, that Silas start. I'm just like shaking my head at that.
Dude, no, he's eating the EV. He's seeing that all three of us are here. Only one of us is playing in this room. He's like, yo, let me get in the other room. And
we now have Badge Bro Overflow. We officially have Overflow.
Let's go.
I'm so scared. You did not.
He didn't get Chase as well.
All right,
screenshots or it didn't happen.
Mamba, get Mamba in the chat and flag that draft now.
Yeah, that team doesn't make sense. Okay, let's go back to this team because we're gonna be on the clock in 1 second here. Do we like the negatively correlated but sort ofly correlated Saquon plus Henry?
I can't
do it. Okay.
I don't think it's
all right.
Smart.
We got 16 seconds.
What if instead of Renfrow we do Waller?
Yeah, Waller's interesting.
Okay.
But I mean, it's either one for me. So you pick. You pick.
I think Waller.
Okay, let's do Waller, and then I didn't even look to see. He's already taken tight end, so we just made a mistake. You know what I mean? Like,
we're streaming, so
maybe he's gonna double tap. Maybe he was looking for the double tap tight end there.
Oh, you know what? That's next level, man. I'm not even on that level of metagaming.
That's a great game,
that's more.
Oh my god! I just got skipped twice on DraftKings. 2 consecutive missed picks. They changed it to like the slow draft, like 10 second or 10-minute clock.
10
and it's just
slow
like
draft. Oh my god.
Like 10-minute clock now or something like that. It's insane. Like, let me just have my phone ready at all times. Like
10-second slow clock just immediately makes me think of Elmo with fire. Just going nuts, just letting the world burn. All right.
Okay, what do we like here? So, are we keeping Renfro in mind here, or now that we have Waller, we're off that and we can build out a mini of something else, or we can pick some one-offs?
Kyle Pitts looks pretty nice, but I mean, we don't need to go bully tight end.
Yeah, we got 8 seconds.
I like Debo.
I like Debo too.
Yeah, good. I think if there's one person that can like thrive in an environment where the game plays out like it's projected to, it's him.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And he can get there so many different ways, right?
He could. I mean, Elijah Mitchell as well, truly.
Okay, so now this team, when we're looking at this, we got this Chargers plus we got the Vegas run back here. We can go the Chicago side here, or we can pile on that San Fran side. We can steer completely clear and do a contrarian one-off.
I have 2 options.
Okay, what are you thinking here? I'd just say it out loud because I don't particularly.
So I'm thinking
think
Renfro, and then additionally, like if we wanted to like really kind of get crazy, we could do a Giants pass catcher, or we can even get crazier and do a full Keenan fade and throw in Josh Palmer and Justin Herbert just like go scorched earth.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
Because Palmer's not going to get clicked.
No, Palmer's not getting clicked at all.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
I like all that. Yeah. So I'll finish this up when we click this. I have an interesting just question on the build. So
okay. Yeah, you know what? I kind of want to click Renfro here first, and then I
would rather do. I'd rather have Palmer.
I'm cool with either. I was lagging a little bit toward the end.
No, you're good.
Because if we're gonna have the quarterback, I'd rather have the 2 guys. Yeah.
I think you're right.
My thought is, would you always rather have one running back? Because that was a thought last year for me, is how the running backs don't score as much in this. Mm-hmm. Maybe it wasn't a thing. Maybe I just seen the scores or the ceilings that wide receivers can put up compared to running backs. Is like, my thought was like, I'm always just going to go one running back unless there's that other star there. You know what I mean? Like, you're looking at that, you see James Conner and you see that. So maybe again, it's slate dependent, but that's
2 just running backs won quite a few times last year.
Yeah. And that's just me thinking, but it's just, in my head, it's like, okay, the wide receivers are going to score on a ceiling game.
Yeah.
Most likely high. That's probably not even true, but when you have running backs that are catching passes and doing all that, but
sorry, Eric. Not everybody can be as sharp as you, brother. Well, now we just completely ruined your diversity. Hopefully, you've got better 3v3s or whatever than us.
I love it. All right, boys. Been a pleasure. I think we got kind of some hard outs here and stuff. We're gonna try and make this a regular thing. Some combination of the 3 of us or anyone else who has one of those beautiful. Or is it red and white badges? If they want to hit us up, slide the DMs. We actually got a couple people that may or may not want to join in the upcoming future here to get these streams going. So thank you anyone to happen to be there. Like, follow, subscribe, and we're going to try and make this a regular thing, primarily with the football stuff, but hopefully mix in some basketball, mix in some more baseball, and just kind of 12 p.m. Pacific. And maybe one of us will be here, maybe 3 of us will be here, and go with it, right?
Oh yeah, I think we can do all sorts of stuff. It's gonna be a fun season for us on here.
Yeah, let's get some wins for the Badge Bros, huh, boys?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, yo. Actually, you know what? Before we leave, we just gotta tease the people with the sick graphics. I haven't hit the sick graphics button all day.
What do you think?
Oh my god.
Production. Boom! Are you kidding me? Send it off like that. Send it off one more time. All right. Later, guys. Just kidding. One more time.